Alright, you can see on my map I have added a major highway that goes all the way around the perimeter of Mecklenburg County. It's not finished on the north side, but it will be in the next 5 to 10 years. This is an outer belt road. It is Interstate 485. Whenever a city builds a road like this, it tends to suck development out to itself, leaving a transition zone in its wake that's left to its fate. And Charlotte is no different. Nowhere is this more evident than on the northeast side and on the southwest side. As I said earlier, this area was pretty easy for the university to buy some land up here. It wasn't terribly expensive. This was back in the 60s. And they put the university out here. IBM was out here. All of the technology companies were in this general vicinity. So when this road came through and the university was there, housing started to pop up all along this road, all the way around. Mint Hill, as I said before, was a little bit more difficult to get into Charlotte from Mint Hill. It only had one road, and it can back up at rush hour, and therefore Mint Hill was not very developed until this road came through, making it easier to access other parts of the county. And now Mint Hill is beginning to see some of the growth that Huntersville saw back in the 80s, that went from 3,000 residents to over 30,000. We haven't seen that quite that dramatic yet, but it's headed in that direction. Highways, all of the builders tend to follow the roads and the sewer lines, and so there's new construction all the way around this road, all the way down. And on the southwest corner, this was all very undeveloped. This was very rural, a lot of older homes, actual active farms to some extent down in towards the river area. But when the road came through, there was a lot of new construction built. And even on the northwest corner, which has always been rather industrial and trucking and all of the other things that are in this general area, we started to see new construction running along in this general vicinity as well. The areas here in this general vicinity were built mostly in the 1950s and 60s. This was, as I said, kind of blue collar, tended to be a little rough and tumble, middle class all through here. So this area remains middle class, mostly in the 100 to 250 range. There's a few pockets of higher price, but for the most part this is pretty much middle of the road, meat and potatoes kind of. 175 to 200 would be the sweet spot for most of this area here, until you cross over 74, where you get into the higher end, more desirable, which remains so even to this day. Properties in here are going to be 200 to 5 million and up, especially as you go into Union County. This area over here, property is going to be in the 100 to 200 range. Sweet spot's going to be around 150. And that's going to be the case here as well. Again, the lakes have been very desirable because property, waterfront property is not as common, and it's in short supply. So as you get closer to the lake, you move into South Carolina, especially where there's easy access to the interstate. You have a town called Fort Mill, as I mentioned before, but also Tega Cay, which is really a resort community that incorporated, and below that Rock Hill. And a lot of people are locating in these general areas because of the easy access to the employment center that's right through this general vicinity here. Along the river is pretty much undeveloped. Nobody really thought this was going to be that interesting to anyone, and so there's a lot of river cabins along here. But again, because of the limited supply of waterfront property, it is beginning to get developed. The river cabins are being torn down, and construction is taking place all around this lake. We get our water from here, so there's very limited development growth on this river. There are a couple of beautiful neighborhoods, Overlook in the 300 to 500 range, and Mountain Island Harbor right next across the road from it, again is high end. But for the most part, this corridor over here is typically middle class. As you get up into Lake Norman, you have the dam right here that creates the lake. You've got tremendous amount of development all up on the eastern side of the lake because of its easy access to the highway. Highway 16 has been developed. It's 4-laned up to Highway 73 on the north side, and so there's been less development until this road was finished, but it is still beginning to grow at a very rapid rate as people are looking to get out of the city into a more rural lifestyle. The lake is deeper on this side and it's deeper at this end. and it's heavily wooded on this side, but again, most of the development took place on this side because it's easy access to the highway. Thank you for visiting and listening, and I hope you'll visit us on our website, thecharlottehometeam.com, or call me directly at 704-451-0688. I'm Eileen Covington, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.